After years on the road, Toomey parked the van and picked up the mic to bring you this podcast that features interviews with people from hardcore to hair metal. This is Talk To Me with your host, Joshua Toomey.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Talk To Me. This is episode 197. The guest this week is Phil Demmel of Vio-Lence and formerly of Machine Head. And how this interview came together was so crazy. I woke up this morning not knowing I was going to speak to Phil Demmel. And then around noon, I get a text message from Rob Rivera of Nonpoint asking me if I want to speak to Phil Demmel. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I want to speak to Phil Demmel. I got an email a few minutes later, and like a couple hours after that, I was interviewing Phil Demmel, and we talked so much about the Vio-Lence reunion shows coming up, his exit out of Machine Head, his playing with Slayer, and so much more. What a great interview, and had so much fun talking to Phil. And it doesn't really look like Phil's done a lot yet interview-wise. Myself, Jose Mangan, and Decibel Magazine's like what I see so far. So a lot of this stuff really hasn't been out yet. And from what I can tell, from what he says, he kind of had a gag order on him during his Machine Head time, so he was ready to talk. So this is a lot of fun, so sit back, relax, enjoy this episode of Talk To Me that is brought to you by our good friend down in Atlanta, Georgia, that is Scott Bowling with the Good Company with Bowling. Looks like he just released his episode with Morgan Rose. Make sure you are checking it out over on YouTube. Search out Good Company with Bowling or scottgoodcompany.com and let him know that the Talk To Me podcast sent you. You guys can always rate and review the show over on iTunes or whatever podcatcher you have. And you can go to patreon.com/talktome, pick a tier, and support the podcast monetarily, and that would be much appreciated. With that being said, let's check out some classic Machine Head. Let's talk to Phil Demmel. Let's get Rob Rivera's pick from the kit, and then I will talk to you momentarily.
You are listening to Talk To Me.
All right, guys, we have the mighty Phil Demmel on the line, man. How you doing, Phil?
Not feeling so mighty. I'm getting beat up by my 2.5-year-old, so he's down for a nap. So good. Thanks for having me, man.
Cool. Have you turned off, was it a Baby Shark and Daddy Shark and put him to bed?
No, he's all about Baby Einsteins, man. So it's actually a pretty cool show because there's lots of classical music and cool art. So it's the one he's hooked on.
Yeah, my 4-year-old came home from daycare yesterday or the day before singing the Cha-Cha Slide. So we turned it on and had a dance party last night you missed out on.
Oh, man. I am not familiar with the Cha-Cha Slide, so maybe in another year and a half.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you haven't gone to a lot of weddings. It's just it's a wedding song. It's actually one of those, like, some sort of weird hip-hop line dancing, nonsense. Where they give you the instructions to, stomp your feet and clap your hands.
Oh, yeah. The right foot. Yeah, I think they play that. Me and the wife own a bar, and sometimes they play that song on.
Right.
So I get you. No, all right, I got you.
Well, good stuff, man. One of the reasons we're talking is, you're resurrecting Vio-Lence for a couple of shows, and the one thing that I noticed, even just in my social media timeline stuff, was when the initial leaking of the show was talked about, people flipped out, and then obviously when the tickets went on sale, people flipped out, and you had to add a second show. It looks like both shows are sold out. So obviously there's a high demand for this.
It's pretty crazy, and I mean, in the Bay Area especially. So I mean, that's the one place where we did so well back in the day, and not so much outside of the Bay Area, but here we did really well. And I got a text from Sean, the singer, who had, last I'd really seen him was a year previous. And he had a liver transplant, and we did this benefit for him, and it was looking really, really skinny and gaunt, and had some complications. So he was, I didn't know if I was ever going to see him again, let alone playing a band with him again. So it was a pretty surprising phone call to get from him wanting to do a show. And I even had to ask him, I said, are you talking about doing like a violent show, or are you talking like going to movies, or, what are you talking about? And, so he said he was up for it. So we contacted the dudes and if we didn't want to aim too high, we were like, well, let's just think of what we could do. We don't want to, overshoot what we think we're worth or what we could do. And so we kept it pretty. We're looking for. There's an old venue in the area called Ruthie's Inn back in the days. It's where Exodus and even Slayer and Megadeth and saw Metallica there. And so we want to keep it that vibe, that real local kind of punk rock vibe, and kind of just low key. And we threw tickets on sale without even announcing any support. And I got a call from the promoter maybe about 4 hours later, and he's just, hey man, this thing's going to sell out here like really quick.
Right.
What do you want to do? And so we the show was set for a Saturday. So I said, man, not even really talking to the band. I'm all, is the Friday night open? I said, no, the Friday night isn't open, but the next day is Sunday. And I look at the calendar, it's Palm Sunday. And I'm just thinking, oh man, instantly in my head, I'm all the Palm Sunday Massacre, let's trying to trademark this thing. Like in the back of the day, you used to have the Exodus and Suicidal, the Summer Slam, and, the Day on the Dirt and all these
Clash of the
cool
Titans.
Names. Yeah. You just, I'm just feeling that old school vibe with this. So I said, let's see if we can do the Sunday and do it like we're going to do like a matinee show. So have doors at like 2, and if people are coming from out of town, we can, and the promoter was into it. The band was kind of like, oh man, I don't know. We could, well, are you guys, really, what are you waiting for? It's like the promoter's guaranteeing a sellout for the second show, so we put the tickets up on sale, and within minutes they're just gone. Because we announced people were upset that, hey, I didn't get it. I'm not even on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. So, I didn't get a chance. So we give them 10 days notice. Okay, tickets going on sale this Saturday at 8:00. No excuses, and they were just gone. It's insane.
I see a lot of fans are traveling in. I was looking at a few forums and things like that today, and even looks like people are traveling probably from all over the world to come see this. When you were out touring with Machine Head, how often and how bizarre, what was like the strangest place you guys went to that people came up and wanted to talk to you about Vio-Lence?
Oh, well, I would get it not all that often, but it's funny how it becomes like the trendy thing to say, oh yeah, I've been a fan since the Vio-Lence days, where you just kind of go, man, you weren't even alive back then. It's
Right.
like, come on. It might be the cool thing to say, but then you have people that have the patches and they know the songs that, there's people in Russia that were, talking about Vio-Lence, and people down, and especially in South America, where I think it was a big underground thing. And it's just really cool to see this 40-year-old band, getting run again. So it's pretty crazy.
And I did read that, you don't have too many plans for shows outside of the Oakland area. With all of this kind of coming up now, or talks about maybe, California West Coast tour, or, doing some stuff like that.
Yeah, there is. We've been getting, as word gets out of the demand here, and, it's going to be different all over the world. The demand in the Bay Area was always one thing, but everywhere else it was always kind of sporadic and just not really consistent. So I have been getting offers for festivals overseas and, shows back east and one-offs here and there. We're not going to be a band that's able to tour. Guys are tied up with jobs and family commitments and stuff like that. And it'll be special one-off shows. So I see us doing that. We're about to announce our first ever overseas show. I think next week we've got an announcement coming for that. So we've accepted a festival overseas, and we'll be doing some stuff that's convenient for us to do on the weekends, or like an extended weekend type thing.
You had talked about doing a Vio-Lence album in 2003 after you had joined Machine Head, and you had said that Rob wanted to keep kind of the Vio-Lence and the Machine Head and kind of squash it, not even talk about it. What do you think that was that kind of kept him from wanting to celebrate his past and almost kind of hide it?
I think that when Rob quit Vio-Lence, he wanted to make Machine Head happen on its own wheels. He didn't want to be formally a Vio-Lence. He didn't want to have any of that stigma attached. And I get that, and I can understand that. Right before I joined Machine Head, I was doing the Vio-Lence reunion stuff. We did the Thrash of the Titans. We were, doing one-offs here and there. We did a little West Coast tour with Halford and Testament, and I was gearing up to write a Vio-Lence record. So that was in the mix, and we were set to, write it and record it and get it done. Then I joined Machine Head, and we were going to record. It wasn't set. We were set to record like down the road a little bit. And so I joined under the premise that, hey, I got this Vio-Lence record that I'm going to do, and they all understood it. And then our recording for Machine Head kind of popped up, and it was just kind of told to me that, yeah, you're not going to do the Vio-Lence record. It was pretty much like, well, the 25 guys who wanted all the message boards, there's no real demand, there's no real demand for it anyway. So, and I get it though, it's Machine Head's got this all important record. Nobody wanted to sign the band. Machine Head was unsigned. Nobody wanted us. So we're Roadrunner Europe, not even the States, took a flyer on us, and they were just like, okay, so there's a lot of pressure. I get it. As we moved on, but I still, in press, when I was allowed to do press, it was a big deal for me to even mention Vio-Lence, to the point of just, mandated, don't talk about that band anymore. And then it finally got to the point to where you're not doing any press anymore.
Well, I did find that hard to, it was very hard to find interviews with you today to kind of, see what had been said, what hadn't been said. So, but then I noticed you did like Jose Mangan recently, and then the Decibel magazine stuff. So I mean, it looks like you're popping up and getting to do a few things.
Yeah. The Jose thing aired, and I kind of opened up with him a little bit. So I didn't remember entirely what I said, and we only have I'm not saying anything that isn't true, and I'm not going to bad mouth the breakup or him in a sense. I think he's an amazing musician, and the times I had in Machine Head were awesome. The last 2 years just weren't, and we just didn't work as people anymore.
The one thing I noticed in Rob's kind of video apology to you guys is, he kind of paraphrasing, and I didn't watch it recently, but I mean, what I came away seeing from it was that he almost wanted to apologize to you guys for kind of veering off the path too far. What do you think that was? And what do you maybe from the inside? What was that you felt that he strayed too far from the path for?
I think he strayed from the path of being a band. He stayed on his path.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he instead of us being on the same path or asking to be on the same path, it just became this is what we're doing. And pretty much it wasn't, you can take off if you don't like it, but it was just like, this is what we're doing. So at the end, there was a lot of, material that I hate that record. I hate the last record. There's moments of what I wrote that I like, and then they mix, like I wrote most of the music to California Bleeding, but then he wrote the lyrics on top of it that I just wished that, like, man, I don't even want this record on. Like,
Wow.
Me and Dave talk about, like, parts that's like, fuck, I wish I could take my riffs back and just, no, that isn't what we want them used for. So I think in that sense, it just became a Rob Flynn solo project, and that isn't what I signed up for. And the last 2 years were basically collecting a paycheck, and I just couldn't do that. The stress and all the talks and all the can't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't stand there, don't say this, don't point when don't sing the words to the audience, don't
wear this
point,
all white outfit.
Yeah. Well, the white outfits, there was a period like before the record started where I was just playing ball. It's just like, all right, I'm showing up to work. Tell me what to play. Here's tell me what to wear. I'm not going to be the squeaky wheel. I had
No, so would you say that the kind of the video Facebook Live apology that he did was kind of too little too late, or was that stuff ever said to you directly?
The way I remember it, the final talk that we kind of had, I think that I didn't get the. I don't want to speak out of turn here, so I'm going to choose my words pretty carefully. I think that personally, I'll only speak for me. I think that Rob was just as done with me as I was with him. I think that it was well, maybe we can go to therapy, but there's, I think it's just kind of like things that are just being said just to like, hey, we both know this is over. I think I kind of did him a favor by, not having him have to fire me. So, yeah, I think he believed that, I believe that he believed what he said, and and he knows what's happening, but it's just the way that he's running things now. And so, it just didn't work anymore.
From what you gather, will there continue to be a Machine Head?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. There was never a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't, especially in my position. I think that the guitar position for that band would just be a plug and play situation. Get somebody up there. And, I contributed heavily to, material.
Mm-hmm.
So, But in the end, it's, Rob wants to do what he's going to do. So I don't know how much that would be a factor. Those last, the records that I contributed to, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records. Well, actually 4. I'm not going to count the last one. But the first 4 that I joined, would look, well, no, not Ashes, because I didn't really contribute that much to that. So Start Over, Blackening, Locust.
Two absolute masterpiece albums, by the way.
Right on. Well, I mean, those records look entirely different without my contributions to them. So I think that, him continuing in the sense that, that he is now, I think losing Dave McClain is a huge, huge blow. Mm-hmm. I think that he was such a part of that process, and, finding somebody's not going to be easy, but it's never been a doubt in my mind that he'll find 2 people to, probably just be hired guns. I don't think that he wants to take on the headache of the corporation and all that. And, continue. That's what he knows. This is what he knows how to do. And this is what he's good at, man. He's an amazing musician. He's great with notes and and note selection and melodies and layering stuff. And he's got Jared with him, who's I think is the best musician when I was in the band. The guy is classically trained and knows theory and can sing his ass off and can play. And, I think that definitely continuing.
I've always thought the Machine Head, I grew up playing music. I got to tour and all that good stuff. And Machine Head, to me, has always been like the perfect band, like especially like the Locust and stuff like that. Like, there's not a bad note on those albums, and start to finish, and even Rob's voice, you guys is twin guitar stuff, and Dave's playing all that stuff. So yeah, I've always appreciated Machine Head for a quote unquote perfect band. So
right on. Well, yeah, and the Locust was, I wrote, I think 25% of the whole record, including lyrics. So that record is probably the nearest and dearest to my heart. As it came at a time when I was really fighting for custody of my son, and so you read through a lot of those lyrics, and there's a lot of my heart is poured out through that.
We kind of talked earlier, where you came in after Aru and Logan, and you kind of came in a downtime in Machine Head. I mean, that was really definitely a downtime in the band. There was coming off of Supercharger, and now everybody loves the Burning Red, but the Burning Red kind of took the band in a crazy turn. What do you think took him so long to ask you to join? Was it the Vio-Lence connection, or was it him just kind of wanting to do something on his own?
Yeah, I think that in the early days of Vio-Lence, there was Eternal Nightmare came out, and on the back of it, it's plastered, all music by Phil Demmel, and Phil Demmel's God being yelled at our concerts, and me getting so much credit for I did write almost that entire record, and so it was a shadow that he needed to come out of, and I was definitely put in my place when I joined the band. But I also wasn't available, I was married at the time, and I wasn't, going to be in a touring band. And, when Aru took off, it was just kind of like, I was just going to join for a couple of weeks and do a couple of week dates and be done with my musical career, and was going to quit music and be with my wife. And, so when I came home from that tour, that 2-week tour, the marriage went to shit, and it's just like, all right, well, fuck, Machine Head, what do you think about me joining? So I think it was just a timing thing. I don't think it was really, by that time, the Vio-Lence thing had kind of, it was 10, 12 years removed. And I think that it was just a timing thing. We connected on stage. I loved the band. I loved Machine Head. I still, when he started that, I was doing a band called Torque, and, we wrote like Machine Head. It's when I joined Machine Head, it's like, man, I don't have to get rid of my Machine Head sounding riff because I'm playing the band, Love the band. But yeah, coming in at that time, it was probably the band's lowest point. couldn't get a deal. Kind of lost direction wise. And, I think I get way too much credit for saving the band or, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they made a conscious effort to be heavy before I joined. Dave wrote, a lot of Imperium,
Yeah.
They made an effort to go heavy before. I think that I just kind of brought in maybe some positive energy and a new, different energy. And, cause I thought I was, I'm stepping, this band's at its lowest point, but I'm at like my highest point musically.
Right.
It's just like, fuck, this is killer, right on. So I think that dichotomy of energy just kind of was welcomed and kind of worked in that direction.
I literally have in my notes, saved the band. Like that I wrote down today. The one thing that I remember, I've been a Machine Head fan since day one. I remember the promotion for Burn My Eyes came out. It said for fans of Pantera, Sepultura, and Biohazard, and I was like, "Well, I'm sold," and bought the album. And
cool.
So I remember in 2000, I looked it up. Roughly 2006, you guys go on tour with Lamb of God and Gojira opening, which is crazy now. I saw the show in Nashville, and the crowd for you guys went absolutely insane. And then Rob asked the crowd, how many people is this first time you've seen Machine Head? And almost everybody cheered. And I was like, wow, the band is back kind of thing, because I had seen Machine Head a couple of years earlier on the Burning Red tour with Slipknot opening. And once Slipknot was done, everyone left. Like it was
crazy.
It was insane. So to see you guys opening for Lamb of God and people loving the band, you definitely took a turn.
Yeah, that was before the Blackening came out. That was it raining, like pissing rain at that show?
It was inside. It was an inside show. It was at the place called like City Hall. It's not even there anymore. But yeah, it was. It was definitely.
Yeah, the Trivium played after us too. It was Gojira, us, Trivium, and Lamb of God. But that was before the Blackening came out. So it was like it was cool to see that happening.
For a fan, it was awesome, and to see it was younger kids too. Like not that I'm old, but it was just younger kids than I getting into the band for the first time, kind of thing.
Oh, right on.
We've kind of talked a little bit about this, but you've been out of the band for a little bit now, and just kind of sitting back and being able to kind of take it in. What do you reflect on with Machine Head? Obviously it's taken you to so many places and all that stuff.
I think that, man, it was such a crazy ending to the band. We played our last show, I quit, and then I quit actually on the tour. I wasn't going to do the tour. I was hoping that they'd get somebody to replace me. And then Dave said, well, I'm not going to do the tour unless you do the tour. And so if Dave left, then the tour's canceled. So we just kind of agreed to, we'll honor the tour, be done. So the last tour, totally awkward. Me and Rob aren't talking. We're, it's not mean or anything. We're, pass the sugar, everything's, but there's no talking. It's, on stage is kind of forced. And, so we finish on a Saturday. I get a call on Sunday from Kerry King to, hey, can you be out here in 2 days? And, Gary's got this emergency. He needs to go home. Can you learn our set and be out in Germany here in 2 days? So that happens. It takes it into December and holidays and then NAMM this. So I'm sitting here now just kind of processing everything that has happened. And I think that, there's still some, I won't say bitterness, but just, I don't know if I've been able to really process the way everything has ended and gone. I look back at my time in the band and I'm really proud of everything that we've done and, helped take this band from its lowest point to its highest point. Wrote some amazing records, played some amazing shows. So I'm trying to reflect on all the positive stuff and, just being free now of so much that it was held back towards the end in the past couple of years, 3-4 years or whatever. And just being stress free is what I'm kind of focusing on now. Just focus on all the positive stuff that we've done and move forward with all the fun stuff that's happening now. So lots of opportunities.
That's what I was about to bring up. Yeah, a lot of opportunities. Let's talk about Slayer real quick. How were those songs that you learned for the set? Were those just songs that you already knew from being a Slayer fan your whole life, or did you really have to, sit down and learn?
Man, some of them were. I mean, there was a couple that I had known. I'd known War Ensemble. I had known, a lot of Black Magic, but there was parts where you go, oh, I thought I knew this tune, but yeah, because then you have to learn. I'm on the plane listening, and so okay, this is what Jeff is doing. So, but when I land, it's like, okay, what is Gary playing now? And you had to really break down the song. So there was a lot of learning, but there was most of the set. A couple of songs I hadn't heard before. Some of the later songs that Hate Worldwide I hadn't heard before. Payback I hadn't heard before. So it's you're learning a song, and then you have to learn how to play it. Then you have to learn what your parts are. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but luckily the songs are pretty short.
That's true. And then also going to Slayer, I'm assuming they're playing an hour and a half, and you've been doing 3-hour shows for the last however long. So I'm sure you were like, oh, we're done. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you though, it's an hour and a half of just it's unrelenting. It is just bang bang. Songs of five, bang 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 bang. He talks for a little bit, but in the Machine Head set, we'll bust out 3 or 4, but then Rob will talk for a bit, or we'll have a drum solo, or we'll have these long intros. The Slayer set went fast, but it was fucking grueling and brutal. And then it's Slayer, when you're standing next to, here I am standing next to Tom Araya, and the intro's rolling to South of Heaven, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. It's just like, holy fuck, I'm in fucking Slayer right now. I'm about to play South of Heaven with, this legendary band. And then there's pyro, then there's this insane pyro, pentagram pyro and upside down cross, hell awaits. There's, you're literally on fire. It was one of the most amazing experiences.
Yeah, I got to see them in August. So yeah, I've seen this tour, and it's definitely crazy to see those guys. And they've had their ups and downs too. And it was nice to see when I obviously did the quick Wikipedia search on you. Now your bands are now Torque, Vio-Lence, Machine Head, and Slayer. So that's always nice, right?
Insane, right? Yeah, I mean 4 shows. I don't know if that really it was funny. I did these NAMM jams, and people, Phil Demmel, and how do we bill you? I said, just put me as Vio-Lence. Phil, I'm playing in Vio-Lence now, formerly Machine Head, whatever. But this one guy put Phil Demmel of Slayer. Like, no, can't do that. That's so lame.
That's how I'm going to build this podcast. Phil Demmel of Slayer.
Yeah, right. So funny.
Well, cool, man. You obviously, and like we said, the Slayer thing, the jam nights, the Metal Allegiance, all that stuff. What opportunities do you have now, and kind of going forward, what are your plans?
This Vio-Lence thing is occupying some time. We've got some one-offs that are coming up. Obviously the shows are going to be doing this. I was going to write a solo record. Me and McLean are going to jam and do something. Something happened at NAMM that has the potential to be pretty fucking rad. So can't say nothing about it right now, but it involves a lot of heavy hitters. I won't say supergroup, but it might have that feeling. So I'm just, I've done some solos for some people. Can't really talk about yet. So it's all kind of, I've got the home studio up and running. Probably go out and jam with Josta, do some festivals with him and do some shows with him.
Nice.
Me and Roy from Stone Sour and James Lomenzo, who is in Megadeth and BLS, and we might do gonna do this like Motorhead type rock band.
Can't say James Lomenzo and not say White Lion. Come on now.
I'm trying to keep it, trying to keep it a little heavy.
Hey, when
we're going to do this.
When the children cry is a jam. I don't care what anybody says.
Hey, that's a great song. I like that one too.
And wait.
Wait. I never had a chance to love you.
All right.
So we're going to do, me and Roy and James are going to do like a Motorhead type loud rock and roll type band, and just going to make some music with some friends, man, and have a good time. And who knows? Maybe there might be a Vio-Lence record.
And if something comes along, hired gun situation, would you be into that? Like a band like Slayer comes along and says, "Hey, we need somebody."
100%. So anybody out there?
You broke up a little bit there. Last question: where will your Raiders play in 2019?
It's looking like maybe San Francisco.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I think that'd be amazing if they did. I don't know what's going to happen with that team. It's so insane. It's so hard to be a fan. It's probably the hardest team to be a fan of. At least we enjoyed some of the success that I had, in the 70s and the early 80s. So it's tough.
And will you be a fan of the Las Vegas Raiders?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't pull for any other team. I'll watch them on TV and maybe go to a game, but I can't pull for anybody else.
Well, I joke around with guys like Chris Cale that are, friends of mine that are in Vegas. I'm like, well, this is your one chance where you can switch teams. But then again, I guess it's also kind of your one chance to, abandon a team too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool, man. Phil Demmel, thanks, man, for taking the time today, and good luck with everything, and hopefully talk to you soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call.
Hey, this is Kyle from Hell Yeah, and I'm with your boy Josh Toomey with Talk to Me. Get it.
Good afternoon, Talk to Me fans. This is Rob Rivera from the band Nonpoint, and this is my Rob's Pick from the Kids segment that I do here every week or every other week whenever I remember to do it. I want to thank my buddy Phil Demmel for responding to my text, doing this interview. I hit up Josh and, hey, would you like to interview Phil Demmel? I figured it'd be a great time to talk about Vio-Lence and about the shows coming up. And about the future Phil Demmel. I've been friends with him for a very long time. I think over 10 years now we've been friends. And I met him in Fort Lauderdale when they were on tour with Lamb of God. And I have been friends with him ever since. And he has come up on stage and played with Nonpoint, played The Reckonings, played Bullet numerous times. Phil's probably one of the top 5 guys I've ever met out there. And probably one of the nicest people you would ever meet. And just a very passionate dude about music, and I love the guy to death, and who has come a long way in music, has a wonderful family, beautiful family, so I'm very happy for Phil. And this week, we're going to be featuring a Vio-Lence song. If nobody is familiar with it, Vio-Lence is Phil's old band and new band again, because they are back together. They're going to do 2 sold-out shows in Oakland, I believe a place called the Metro, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Phil. But this song is Calling in the Coroner from their first record, Eternal Nightmare. If you do not own this record, I know there's copies of it out there if you want to get it on vinyl, even cassette. I think it's on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, or even you just listen to it on YouTube. This is an iconic thrash album. That's probably one of the most brutal records ever put out in the thrash genre. I unfortunately never got to see Vio-Lence live. They did reunite earlier this year to do a benefit for Sean Killian to help out with his health situation. And now they're going to do 2 shows sold out in record time. I think that it was earlier this year, or was it last year that they did the benefit? I'm not 100% sure. I'm very bummed out. I was never been able to see Vio-Lence. The only thing I've ever been able to see is YouTube videos, and I own a Vio-Lence DVD. But I'm sure that those shows are just going to be legendary and just going to continue to build the legacy that Vio-Lence is and the legacy that Bay Area thrash is. Bay Area thrash to me has always been my favorite. I think was meant to live in San Francisco or Oakland or wherever in that area, to Dublin, wherever the guys form these bands in that area. I think I was meant to live there and be in a thrash band. But I'm not, and I'm very happy where I'm at. And I still have my thrash roots that I do in my music with Nonpoint. I still add that element to the music. And I'm just very excited for Phil. Phil I've seen play with Machine Head quite a few times because we toured with him, and I've seen Machine Head a bunch of times over the years. But anyway, I'm very happy for Phil. Thank you so much for doing this interview with us. I love you, brother, and good luck with everything in the future. And to everybody, like I said, go pick up Eternal Nightmare by Vio-Lence if you do not have this. Now, without further ado, this is Calling in the Corner from Vio-Lence's first album, Eternal Nightmare.
All right, huge thank you to Phil Demmel of Vio-Lence, formerly of Machine Head, and even a little bit of Slayer. So hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and a huge thank you to Rob Rivera for hooking that one up. And once again, thank you to each and every one of you out there that rates, reviews, shares the podcast, lets a friend know about the show, and all that good stuff. So until next week, I am Joshua Toomey, and this has been the Talk to Me podcast.